Hello, and welcome to a special Halloween episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
I rounded up some creepy stories from several different subreddits, including r/paranormal and r/AskReddit. These ones are all supposed to be true as well. This is also the 50th episode of Reading Reddit with Amber, so I thought it would be fun to change up things a little bit for a day and read the stories in front of a camera. In addition to our storytelling format, I have a special guest today, Brian, who is going to read stories with me.
Hi.
Our first story today is from r/paranormal, I believe. It's called Never Play with an Ouija Board, and it's by Celluloid Addiction. This story happened in October of 2004, back when I was still a third-year high school student. My friends and I snuck around the school late at night after our annual Halloween party. We had agreed to try out my friend's Ouija board. It wasn't the brightest idea, but we needed a thrill. We found a nice spot under a huge narrow tree and proceeded with our half-baked ritual. There were 5 of us, 2 boys and 3 girls. We were all expecting some kind of paranormal encounter. Rumors had it that our school was haunted, but we'd never really experienced anything firsthand, and it was Halloween when all spirits came out to play. We all wanted to get spooked. Also, we'd never seen an Ouija board before firsthand, so we were pretty excited. Our school was an old Spanish colonial house, built in the 1800s when the Spaniards still occupied the Philippines. We were in a section of the school that doesn't get used often. Located beside a creepy old Jesuit house, people only go there when they need to use the restroom, store equipment on one of the sheds, or make out with their boyfriends and girlfriends. We sat down in the middle of an open space, with only an exposed bare bulb nearby illuminating the surroundings. We were all having a laugh, scaring each other with the what-if scenarios. It was your typical dumb kids doing dumb things. My friend who brought the Ouija board proceeded to place it in the middle of our circle. If I remember correctly, it was the glow-in-the-dark version, which we found hilarious. But it gave us the ability to see what was written in the dark. Not knowing what to do, and going after what we see in the movies, we all proceeded to place our index finger on top of the planchette. Close enough. We sat there looking at each other until one of us said, "What's next?" We didn't know if there was a proper way to start the ritual, plus the board didn't come with instructions, so we decided to just throw in a question. "Is anyone there?" I called out into the darkness. "If there are spirits living here, please talk to us," one of the girls joined in. We clearly had no idea what we were doing. Still, nothing. Not even the slightest bit of wind. One of my friends jerked the planchette and the girl who brought the Ouija board screamed, breaking the silence. We all laughed at how ridiculous it was. After a bit of joking around, we decided to give it another go. We all placed our index fingers on the planchette once more and asked, "If there's anyone there, we would like to make contact." "Don't break the circle," one of my friends jokingly said. "Shut up," I whispered.
"Don't cross your beams."
We were just about ready to give up when the wind started to pick up. The stillness broke, and the darkness around us seemed to move. Just a coincidence, we thought. "Okay, don't break the circle." I yelled out, "Is anyone there?" I was excited. It was like a scene from a movie with dirt and dead leaves swirling around. "Guys, I'm scared," my friend sitting beside me said. "My mom warned me about playing with forces we don't know." "Did you die here? Were you killed during the war? Are you the headless priest that roams the halls? Do you know Jose Rizal, our national hero? Are you a hottie?" my friend giggled. At this point, we were all throwing random stupid questions. Nothing. "This is BS. I don't want to do this anymore," my friend said, exasperated. We were all thinking the same. Just then, a group of dogs from the neighboring house started barking at us through the chain link fence. These 6 dogs were growling and showing their teeth. We all screamed and, without finishing the ritual, bolted right out of there.
But who let the dogs out?
We didn't see each other until after Halloween break, and this is where the story gets creepy. One of the girls told us about a weird experience she had the night after playing with the Ouija board. She had gotten home late after hanging out with her friends from the neighborhood when she realized she forgot the keys to her house. So she called her brother up, who was then still sharing a room with her, and what he said creeped her the heck out. He swore she was already home. He claimed to have seen her walk in a while ago, and that she looked really tired, and he saw her go straight to bed. Creepy, but no need to freak ourselves out, was all we thought. Besides, her brother must have just been tired and seeing things. But then, my other friends started telling us about an encounter that she had that Halloween night. She was going up to her room when the lights started flickering as she was ascending the staircase. Your typical horror movie visuals, shrug it off to faulty wiring. But just then, she saw the door to her room open, and a dark figure stepped out and stood atop the staircase. She couldn't make out the entity's face, but she recounted that she couldn't move and felt utter dread as the figure stared down at her. "No way!" my best friend, who had just joined the conversation, said in disbelief. "Something happened to me as well." He recalled that he was sleeping one night when he woke up feeling really uncomfortable. He described his vision as having TV-like static and a feeling of heaviness surrounding him. He looked around the room, and that's when he saw a bloody, charred face with piercing red eyes grinning at him through the window. I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I had an almost run-in with death that night. After the ritual, I was sleeping in our sedan on the way home after fooling around with the Ouija board when I felt our car jerk. I woke up instantly. Looking at the window, I found out that we've been hit by a huge oil tanker. I panicked and leapt out of the car. Luckily, my mom and I survived the crash since the front of the car was a total wreck. I still don't have an explanation why those things happened to us, but thank God nothing happened after that. I never played or gotten near an Ouija board ever since.
And that's Amber's story. Now, I haven't read this. So, our next post is on the comment thread, "What's the creepiest thing that's happened to you?" by RaiderKid7. And this comment is by RandoLife. Spelled RandoLiof. RandoLoif? Who knows? I'm a bit late, but here's something I have posted elsewhere. This story takes place on August 13th in the mountains... August of 2013 in the mountains of Southern Oregon. I'm a United States Air Force Security Forces airman, military policeman. Oh, this has just lost all credibility. I'm just kidding. I was in the Navy. Sorry, Air Force people. You guys, should find real jobs. You might want to cut that. I'm just kidding, Air Force. Just kidding. My girlfriend was at work, and it was a sweltering hot day that began to turn into thunderstorms. My buddy Nick, another military cop, and I decided to go explore some back roads and get out of the heat in the town. Southern Oregon is crisscrossed with logging roads, some actively used and many totally forgotten and grown over. Nick and I spent many of our days off, starting on roads that we knew and finding roads that we didn't know, driving hours into the mountains, eventually navigating back into the paved roads. On this particular day, when the storm clouds building in the mountains, we set off on a road that we had never been on and begun to drive into the mountains. After driving for about an hour, We had not seen or heard any sign of other people in the woods. We rounded a bend into a thick fir woods and emerged into the meadows and was totally surrounded by thick aspen groves. The meadow was perfectly flat and eerily still. We both noticed a strange stillness almost immediately. No birds, hardly any insect noises, no squirrels, and certainly no other people. On the far side of the mountain, right at the edge of the tree line, there was a picnic table. The table was very old. However, it was painted a bright orange. It was much larger than a typical picnic table, and in the park. Remarking on this, Nick drove through the meadow to get a closer look. I remember being apprehensive as we approached. The whole scenario was unexpectedly strange. The overall silence of the aspen groves was unsettling. Also, it was nearly impossible to see into the trees as aspen grows extremely close together. When we parked by the table, I hopped out of the passenger seat of the truck to check it out. I'm not very tall, only about 5'5". Regardless, the table was ridiculously oversized and practically unusable. The seats were nearly at chest level, and I would have had to climb up to even sit on them. I was looking at the table. Nick called me over to the truck, and I noticed I was looking back into the aspens. At first, I couldn't see what he was looking at, but then I noticed a splash of color was completely out of place in the thick trees. A small one-man tent was set up in the woods, about 50 feet from the strange table. I had an initial feeling of dread, and felt certain that there was someone in the tent, and if we could see the tent, they could see us. There were no campgrounds in this area, no people, no main roads for miles. Surely someone camping so remotely would be, at the very least, a strange person. I'm gonna stop them here for a second. You guys drove out here in the middle of nowhere and you're gonna judge someone for camping in the middle of the woods? I don't know. However, as we observed the tent, we didn't see any movement or hear any sounds coming from it. Nick suggested I call out. I didn't want to, but hey. I said, "Hey, is there anyone out here?" I yelled. No reply. Feeling completely on edge, Nick and I thought about driving away and leaving this strange area. But we began to fear the worst. What if there was a body in the tent? What if somebody had gotten kidnapped? Foolish, I know, but we thought it at the same time. Or what happens if there was real work to be done in the United States Air Force? After some debate, we decided to have Nick turn the truck around to drive away from the camp should anything happen and we need to leave in a hurry. He would be waiting behind the wheel. With my heart pounding, I started walking through the trees towards the tent. I was totally keyed up with my senses on full alert. When I reached the campsite, several things stuck out as odd. Backpacks were scattered all over. No fire had been built. No wood collected. The tent was literally full of backpacks and women's clothing. Full of dread, I turned to leave and tell Nick what I had seen. As I left, I heard Nick start yelling, "Let's go! Let's get the hell out of here!" Not knowing why he was yelling, I ran back to the truck. When I broke out of the trees, I saw a beat-up old Ford Taurus on the road, blocking us from leaving the meadow. I immediately leapt into the passenger side, and Nick floored the gas pedal. The car was occupied by 2 men. A third person was laying against the window in the back. As we drove across the meadow, the driver attempted to block us from the road, but Nick drove around them and accelerated the way that we had come out. I looked back and saw the car attempting to drive around the narrow road. Nick drove like a madman, and I thought I was honestly terrified that they would catch up. We hit the highway without seeing the car again. I still do not know if the person was in the back was male or female. I called the state police and they promised to send a trooper out to check out the scene. However, I received a call the next day from a trooper stating that the campsite, the backpacks, and the women's clothes were all gone, though he could tell that people had been in the area. The strange table was still by the thick aspen groves. I have not returned to that area, nor do I intend to.
Our next story is another comment on that thread, "What's the creepiest thing that happened to you?" by RaiderKid7. And this comment was posted by Parole Model. I used to visit my friend at her house out in a rural farming area before she moved. I'd slept over a lot and would just hang out and draw. I usually slept in the living room on the couch, and there are 2 mirrors in the room fairly close to the TV. When the TV was off and I was walking by, I started seeing shadows behind me. I thought it was just a warped TV screen or something. Then, one evening, I walked into the living room to get my sketchbook so I could sketch in her bedroom. I bent over and picked it up, stood up straight, looked in the mirror, and there was a man behind me. A man standing in the hallway leading to the living room. He was about average height, bald, and a bit old. I turned to look at him, and no one was there. Turned to look in the mirror again, and he was gone. I felt a little spooked. Another time, we were just sitting in the living room, and we heard what sounded like little kids' footsteps running across the upstairs quickly. She had 2 adult siblings, but they were at work, leaving us alone. Around that time, I decided to sleep in my friend's room instead of the living room, only to wake up in the middle of the night to see 4 of her posters slowly get peeled off the wall. It wasn't them falling and dragging each other down. They looked as if someone were carefully unsticking the tape and taking them down. The next morning, my friend put them back up saying, "I need to get better tape for these." She and her family eventually moved out because they couldn't afford to live there anymore. We had never really talked about what happened in the house, as if talking about it would make it worse. But after she moved, I finally said, "Dude, your house was haunted. I hope you realize that." She replied with, "Yeah, I knew it was. Some guy and his granddaughter lived there, but he killed her and then himself, so it was probably them or something. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to scare you away from hanging out with me." Then she dug out a copy of a news article she got from a local paper about the murder. The picture that went with the article was a picture of the man I saw standing behind me. Unfortunately, I have no clue where to find that article now, or if my friend still has her copy. If I dug enough, I could probably find it. But I don't have the time, and I don't live near that area anymore. I don't even remember her town name or address, because they moved out close to 10 years ago. So you'll have to take my word for it.
Our final story is a comment from the thread In the Spirit of Halloween, Paranormal or Not. What is the scariest, creepiest, or most unsettling experience in your life? By _Jarvit__. This comment is by YB Lovat. And I brutalized their names, by the way. When I was around 16, my rapidly growing family finally moved from the house I had spent my entire life in. As you would expect, we spent a lot of time fondly remembering things we used to do in the house as we were packing everything up. At some point in time, I decided to go downstairs into the closet with a flashlight and read, something I used to do when I was younger and to get some peace and quiet. Now, this is one of those deep closets that go under the stairs. It went back about 8 feet and then had a left turn onto a very low, maybe 3-foot high space. The space was largely occupied by a mountain of old blankets and stuffed animals. Of course, this was the most fluffy spot to sit and read. About an hour in, I shifted a little to get comfortable and I hear a low, slow, warped, hoarse voice say, "You always make me feel happy." I flipped my stuff. I hit my head on the low ceiling and practically broke the door to get out. After hyperventilating and explaining to my family why there was no color left on my face, I went back to see what it was. It was just my little stuffed bear from when I was about 3 or 4 years old that happened to be just leaned on just right when I pressed his belly. When I pressed his stomach again, though, nothing. The poor bear I hadn't played with since I was a toddler, used its last little bit of power and uttered its last dying breath to tell me that I made it happy. You make me happy too, little bear. When you're not making me, soil myself.
Pee myself, you could say.
When you're not making me soil myself.
That sounds like pooping.
Okay, fine. When you make me pee myself.
When you're not.
Yeah. Little fair. You make me happy when you make me pee myself.
I just wanted to put that one on the end because that's kind of a light, fun story. But you know what this reminds me of is our haunted mirror.
Yeah.
So we have this haunted mirror. It's like a Halloween decoration. It's this mirror with like a 3D face projection and it has these light up red LED eyes. And it's motion activated. So if you hang it up on the wall and someone walks by it, it starts making this ooh type sound. And the eyes light up and everything. So we have this haunted mirror and it's in storage. And it's been in storage for like 10 months. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day, we just hear, ooh. And I still don't know why it decided to just turn on then. It's done it a few times since. I think maybe the batteries are going or something. But yeah.
Ghosts.
Clearly, it's our ghost. Well, as a bonus story, so here's my scary, well, I don't know if this is my scariest experience, but my most paranormal seeming experience I've had to date. So when I was about 18 or 19 years old, I watched the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And then one night, not the same night, but one night I went to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was frozen, like I could not move. And I felt this pressure on my chest. It was a very light pressure, but I felt like there was something on my chest. And I opened my eyes and like I could see it was dark in my room, but I could kind of like see everything was kind of gray and I could see there was nothing on my chest. Again, like I can't move, like, but you know, I can see that there's nothing on me. And so I thought for sure that I was being possessed by a demon. So I'm just like lying there, frozen, just feeling this pressure on my chest. And like, there's nothing you can do. My sister, she was, we had a bunk bed, so she was right below me. And like, probably the most awful part was like, I couldn't move my mouth to scream or to signal to her because she was just right there, just right downstairs. And meanwhile, I think I'm being possessed by a demon and there's nothing I can do. And it's like, I guess I just lie here and let the demon take me over. And eventually the sensation went away and I was able to go back to sleep. And I later learned that was sleep paralysis, but I hadn't heard of sleep paralysis before. So I was pretty sure that I was being possessed by a demon for a little bit. So that's my scary paranormal encounter.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? I have.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're looking for more spooky stories, I have several scary story playlists, which I'll link to below. If you haven't heard the pizza delivery one yet, I highly recommend checking that one out because it is simultaneously hilarious and frightening. One of the best Let's Not Meet stories I've ever heard.
Is that the one where the guy pees in the bushes?
Yes, it's that one.
All right.
Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope your day is spooktacular. Have fun and stay safe.
You can come to our house for candy. We'll have little baggies of candy. We don't have any candy on us right now. It's being mailed to us.
All right, that's that.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all later.
Are we simply now?
I guess so.
Because isn't that basically her outro? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all later. Bye!
You know, it might be, but it wasn't intended that way.